The humid Seoul air buzzed with anticipation inside the sprawling arena of the Global Combat Arts Festival, a global celebration of combat disciplines where masters and enthusiasts converged to showcase their skills. The crowd, a vibrant mix of locals and international spectators, filled the stands, their cheers echoing off the high ceilings. At the center of it all was Min Soo, a Taekwondo legend whose name carried the weight of decades of dominance. His sharp features, framed by a shock of silver hair, gleamed under the spotlight as he executed a flawless series of high kicks, each one snapping through the air like a whip. The audience roared, but Min Soo's expression remained cold, his eyes scanning the crowd with an arrogance that had become as legendary as his technique. Among the VIPs seated in the front row was Jason Statham, the Hollywood action star whose films had made him a global icon of grit and physicality. He sat quietly, his lean frame relaxed but alert, his eyes fixed on Min Soo's performance. Jason wasn't here to perform, he'd been invited as a guest, a nod to his on-screen martial arts prowess and his real-life training in disciplines like kickboxing and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. But to Min Soo, Jason's presence was an insult to the sacred art he dedicated his life to perfecting. As Min Soo's demonstration ended, he took the microphone, his voice cutting through the arena's din. "Martial arts is not a game for actors," he said, his English precise but laced with disdain. "It is not a stunt for cameras. It is a way of life, a discipline forged in sweat and sacrifice." His gaze locked onto Jason, and the crowd sensed the shift. "You, Mr. Statham," Min Soo continued, pointing directly at him, "you parade around in movies, pretending to be one of us. But you are no martial artist. You are a fraud, a Hollywood stuntman playing dress-up." The arena fell silent. Every eye turned to Jason, whose jaw tightened but whose expression remained unreadable. The insult hung in the air, a challenge wrapped in scorn. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, some shocked, others excited. Min Soo stood tall, his arms crossed, daring Jason to respond. For a moment, it seemed he wouldn't. Then, slowly, Jason rose from his seat, his movements deliberate, like a predator sizing up its prey. The crowd held its breath. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jason said, his gravelly British accent calm but carrying an edge, "I came here to honor martial arts, not to disgrace it. But if Master Min Soo wants to test my respect for this art, or my ability to back it up, I'm happy to oblige." The crowd erupted, a mix of cheers and gasps, as Jason stepped onto the stage, unbuttoning his jacket and tossing it aside. His physique, honed by years of training, was undeniable, but Min Soo's sneer suggested he saw only a pretender. The festival organizers, sensing both danger and opportunity, quickly conferred. This wasn't scripted, but it was too electric to stop. They agreed to a controlled exhibition match, 3 rounds, no full contact, just technique and control. The rules were clear, no cheap shots, no knockouts, just a display of skill to settle the score. The stage was cleared, and a padded mat was laid out. The lights dimmed, focusing on the 2 men now standing face to face. Min Soo moved first, his Taekwondo stance low and fluid, his eyes locked on Jason like a hawk. Jason, adopting a hybrid stance from his kickboxing days, kept his guard up, his body loose but ready. The first round began with a tentative dance, each man testing the other's range. Min Soo struck first, a lightning-fast roundhouse kick aimed at Jason's head, but Jason slipped it, countering with a crisp jab that stopped just short of Min Soo's chest. The crowd gasped at the precision. Min Soo's eyes narrowed. He hadn't expected such control. As the round progressed, Min Soo's attacks grew fiercer, his kicks a blur of speed and power, each one aimed to humiliate rather than score. But Jason was no novice. He parried and dodged, his movements economical, his counters sharp. When Min Soo overextended on a spinning heel kick, Jason stepped in, locking Min Soo's arm in a quick jiu-jitsu hold, forcing him to tap the mat before releasing him instantly. The crowd roared, but Min Soo's face burned with fury. The first round ended with no clear winner, only heightened tension. Between rounds, In their respective corners, the men's thoughts diverged. Min-soo, surrounded by his students, seethed. He'd underestimated Jason, assuming Hollywood had dulled his edge. But the actor's discipline was real, and Min-soo's pride, his legacy, was at stake. He couldn't lose to a stuntman in front of the world. Meanwhile, Jason sat alone, sipping water, his mind calm but focused. He wasn't here to prove he was better than Min-soo. He wanted to show that martial arts transcended ego, that respect for the craft could unite even rivals. The second round was a masterclass in contrast. Min-soo's attacks were relentless, a storm of kicks and strikes, each one showcasing his decades of mastery. Jason, however, fought with restraint, his counters precise but measured, absorbing Min-soo's aggression like a sponge. When Min-soo landed a spinning back kick to Jason's ribs, a legal but forceful blow, the crowd winced, expecting a stagger. But Jason absorbed it, his face betraying only a flicker of pain before he responded with a low kick that nearly swept Min-soo off his feet. The round ended with both men breathing heavily, their mutual respect growing despite themselves. The final round began with a shift. Min-soo, realizing brute force wouldn't break Jason, slowed his pace, focusing on precision. Jason matched him, their movements almost synchronized, like a dance of mutual understanding. The crowd watched in awe as the two traded techniques. Min-soo's high kicks met with Jason's deft counters, Jason's grappling attempts parried by Min-soo's footwork. In the final seconds, Jason caught Min-soo's wrist mid-strike, twisting into a gentle hold that brought them face to face. "This is respect," Jason said quietly, just for Min-soo to hear, before releasing him as the bell rang. The arena exploded in applause, but the judges hesitated. There was no clear winner, both men had showcased mastery in their own way. Min-soo, his chest heaving, stared at Jason, his arrogance softened by what he'd just experienced. Jason extended a hand, and after a moment's pause, Min-soo took it, their handshake firm and genuine. The crowd roared louder, sensing the shift from rivalry to respect. As they left the stage, Min-soo spoke first, his voice low. "You're no fraud, Statham. But don't think this makes you my equal." Jason smirked, replying, "I don't need to be your equal, Master Min-soo. Just good enough to earn your respect." Min-soo's lips twitched, almost a smile, before he walked away. The festival continued, but the night belonged to their clash, a moment where action met emotion, where pride gave way to mutual respect. On social media, fans debated who won, but most agreed the real victory was the display of martial arts' true spirit, discipline, honor, and the courage to face a challenge head-on. For Jason, it was a reminder that his training, though born in gyms and sets, held weight in the real world. For Min-soo, it was a humbling lesson that even a legend could learn from an outsider. And for the crowd, it was a spectacle that would be talked about for years, a VIP showdown that proved martial arts was bigger than any one man.